A funding opportunity were recently released for several programs offering billions in broadband-related funding rural communities, and they're now looking for the best avenues to access and leverage these funds. Brent Legg with Connected Nation joins us now with more information. Brent, thank you so much for being here. So give us a little bit of background on this funding.
Yeah, absolutely, Suzanne, and thanks for having me. Congress actually appropriated more than $65 billion for broadband expansion when the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act was passed by Congress back in November. And so now federal agencies are in the process of standing up the programs that were authorized, including a $42.45 billion program to expand broadband access to rural communities. And states are going to have a huge role in determining where that funding goes. And so states are actually in the process of standing up broadband offices to work with local communities and service providers to expand access under that program, which is called the BEAD program.
Is the funding already available? And how do community rural leaders, what do they do to take advantage of this?
Well, as you mentioned at the opening of the segment, the U.S. Department of Commerce, specifically NTIA, the agency under the Department of Commerce that's administering this program, issued essentially what are called notices of funding opportunity for several of these broadband programs on May 13th. And so now there's a pretty complex interplay that takes place between state governments and the federal government to access these funds. So over the coming 6 or so months, states are going to have to develop what's called a 5-year action plan for how they're going to take advantage of the funding and ensure that every home and business has access to broadband service using these funds. And so there's going to be the law, the infrastructure law, actually requires communities to play an active role in determining how those funds are best going to be spent.
Makes sense. And for some, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now, I would say that the time for communities to begin planning and getting engaged in their state's process is really now.
Yeah, makes sense and so necessary. Brent, before I let you go, I know that you also have a new project that uses internet exchange points to help improve internet access in rural areas. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of federal and state policy regarding broadband has been very focused on what's called last mile access, meaning access to individual homes and businesses. There hasn't been a lot done regarding how internet networks actually connect with one another. And so in big cities, there are what are called carrier neutral internet exchange points where networks physically interconnect. And in order for broadband access to improve in rural areas, those internet exchange points actually need to be deployed into smaller cities and towns across the country. And so that's an initiative that we're working on as an organization.
So important to have access and just great work. Thank you so much for all of this information. Appreciate you joining us. That's Executive Vice President of Government Affairs for Connected Nation, Brent Legg. Again, thank you for your time.